All right, y'all. So we got a lot to uncover in this one. Candace Owens just getting let go from Daily Wire. And honestly, I'm going to be honest, I saw this coming. I would think that definitely this was something that was going to happen very soon. I mean, just given the gift that she has, and the talent that she has to cover the topics and the stories that she's covering in the way that she's doing it, it's definitely brave and it's definitely controversial at times. But I believe that it is a message and it is a word that needs to go forth and it needs to continue to go forth. I mean, the biggest debacle from what I was seeing in my research with this situation is that the bombing with the Palestinians, the Israels, it's that commotion and that debacle that's been going on that's been having her and I believe her boss at the Daily Wire be at heads. This actually went back to last year, November 2023. Candace Owens, she shared a tweet, and in that tweet, I mean, she just pretty much shared scripture. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you. So then Ben Shapiro, her boss, he retweets that and responds to that tweet the next day, on November 15th, and says, Candace, if you feel that taking money from the Daily Wire somehow comes between you and God, by all means, quit. No, I mean, that's completely unprofessional, I would say, as a boss, especially considering that the tweet that she had in there and the response and everything, it had nothing to do with her feeling like she was compromising her morals as a believer or as a Christian. She was just quoting scripture, and that's what's confusing to me. So I felt that, typically when things like this happen and when you have a controversial person, let alone a black woman, doing what she's doing on the controversial side that she's on, you start to find people like this where they start digging and picking for just about anything. And honestly, I find that that's the problem in this situation. And I'm glad that she had an opportunity to speak out on it. On the Breakfast Club, she was asked pretty much what was going on with all of that, because she responded to that pretty much retweet that he had put out about her, telling her by all means quit. And she says, you've been acting unprofessional and emotionally unhinged for weeks now, and we all have had to sit back and allow it, and we all have tried to exercise exceeding understanding for your raw emotion, but you cross a certain line when you come for scripture and read yourself into it. I will not tolerate it. And that's exactly what it is. You came across scripture and she just simply posted out an honest tweet, which is true. Blessed are peacemakers. And I believe that that is exactly what her platform is based off of, and the messages that she sends and what her standpoint is based off of is creating peace, giving people an understanding, a better understanding, if you will. Kind of like what we're doing here on this platform, man. And it's interesting that people would find issue or find problem in that. Makes me start to think that the news, if you will, even something like the Daily Wire and what Ben Shapiro's got going on over there, it makes you start to think that even that stuff is propaganda. Because she shares about it, how you can't just say whatever you want to say. You can't. Like, she had her own raw emotions about what was going on, the bombings and the innocent children and how they're being hurt and being bombed, and the threats that are going over there, Palestine, Israel, and all that stuff. She had raw emotion, and the fact that because my raw emotion doesn't align, if you will, with the agenda or the message or theme that the Daily Wire or any news outlet for that matter is trying to send, I get blacklisted, I get pushed out. Now she's fired, now she gets let go. I think there's a different hidden agenda in there, and I can definitely see people tuning out of the Daily Wire and no longer using that as their source of information. Credible information, if you will. I mean, she's got her own podcast. Candace Owens, she's got her own show. And I mean, she's going to continue to spread things over there, which is good, you know. And I mean, her people are going to go over there, so it's not like this is a big hit for her. But I want to show you guys some of these clips of what she was expressing and how she was talking about the big issue there. Like, what was the main issue? You know, she's going to talk about her raw emotions of how she felt about what's going on in Israel, what's happening in Palestine, and the problem that it presented on the Daily Wire. Let's check some of this out.
Genuinely, I was sad when a bunch of innocent Israelis were murdered and killed in horrific acts. And genuinely, I am sad when a bunch of innocent Palestinians, and yes, they do exist, Brian Mast, are now being made to endure bombing and all sorts of other horrific things that we are all seeing on Twitter. That is my crime. Everybody can see that. It's ridiculous to pretend that it's anything else.
So apparently, yeah, they're trying to make it seem, like I said, like it's other things. Even in that response that her boss put to her tweet, you know, months ago, it doesn't add up. So it's like they're trying to find things instead of just pointing out the fact that just because she is genuinely sad about something and genuinely has real raw emotion towards something, that it appears the Daily Wire or the platform that she's talking about these things on, they do not share those same raw emotions. And furthermore, they do not want her to share her raw emotions on that. Like, why aren't we talking about the problems that are going on in the world? Why aren't we slowing down to say, hey, this is an issue? Like, news outlets, we do a good job at putting the information in front of people. I know that. Like, we do a great job by having the information. I mean, information is right at our fingertips these days. But instead of just pushing out information, when do we slow down to ask ourselves, why is stuff like this happening? Why are there places in the world where people are being bombed, where children are not safe, where children are being harmed? Families are being torn, kids being torn away from their parents, being kidnapped, harmed, essayed, if you will. When do we slow down to say, what is going on in the world? What is happening and why is it happening? So that way we can get to a point where we can stop it from happening. When do we get to that point? And I feel that that is exactly what Candace Owens was attempting to do. I truly believe that that is exactly what she was trying to do. But the propaganda in news outlets these days, man, it's scary. It's scary to see stuff like this, because you got to ask yourself, what was she really doing wrong? You know, as she said, that's my crime. My crime is that I cared. Essentially, she cared about something that she was told not to care about. That's interesting. Let's hear some other stuff she had to say.
It's not that I'm saying things that they don't like. It's that I'm refusing to allow my voice to be controlled.
Simple as that. Simple as that. So it's and that's the thing, because they'll say, to make themselves clear, you know, it's not that, and this is every news outlet, man. This is even jobs. You work at a job, man, and there's politics in this. So it's just politics at the end of the day. So it's always about, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So it's always about playing this invisible game of politics, but that gets no one anywhere. I feel like it's just blind leading blind. Nothing's getting fixed. Pinpointing at stupid things, pinpointing at the irrelevant things. They're trying to get rid of TikTok right now, and people are still trying to figure out how relevant is that to other mass things that are going on in the world. There's people, like she's saying, in Palestine, people in Israel, there's little kids, there's families, there's innocent people, innocent human beings being harmed, being bombed, you know, being unalived. There's innocent people, and we're focusing on an application, a mobile application, that this is what we're spending our time on. People are losing their homes, people are losing their families, their jobs, their cars. Inflation is at an all-time high right now for a lot of people. People are barely able to make ends meet, and it's like there's a need for the people. There's a definitive need for the people, but the focus is all in the wrong place. But if we get to that place where, oh, there's focus and we're focusing in on that, as she says, and you're getting ready to hear it. Oh, don't talk about that. Don't express it. Don't do it. Once you get to that point, don't do it. Go this far, but don't go too far. Because then we're going to start getting to a point where we can actually fix things, and we don't want to do that. That's the problem. That's the problem that we face in the world today. Let's hear this clip where she is expressing just that. Let's get into this.
You do not step out and say things that are radically pro-Israel, or if you are too quiet on certain narratives and they want you to be radically pro-Israel, you can lose everything. It makes me cry when I see the footage all over Twitter of Palestinian children that are being bombed into oblivion, when I see they're missing parts of their body and this implicit threat. Don't say it's sad. You're not allowed to say it's sad. It is sad.
It is, man. It is. And why aren't we allowed to say something about it? Why? Because of the wars and the difference of country, all that separation, bro. But it's like, it's just creating evilness. You know what I mean? Like, when you think about it, like, if God created the world, is there supposed to be so much separation? Is there supposed to be so much hate and war and crime and this place against this place? Should we come together? Is there a way to come together? Should we be talking about that, or do we like division? As a nation, as people, as a community, do we like division? Have we become so accustomed to division that we don't know how to work together, that we don't know how to come together, how to genuinely feel for others, to a point where when you are genuinely feeling for others, it's treated like a crime? You lose a job over it? That's interesting to see in active time, right before our eyes, the world changing. And majority would say that it's not changing for the good. Not necessarily better coming out of this. There's a lot happening in the world. And I'm going to show you guys a clip of something that I saw that took place in Russia. And it's like we get so close-minded in our small little areas and our small lives, our small towns, wherever we may live, our cities, wherever. But we don't realize that there's real terrible things taking place in the world. I'm going to show you guys this clip, but before we do that, before we move on to that, I want to give Candace Owens this last opportunity right here to share with you guys, when she was on the Breakfast Club, in that interview, what was happening with her and Ben Shapiro, her boss at the time, and how she even knew that it was getting to that point, and why he didn't just fire her already. Because a lot of people had that question too. And that's my question. You know, why do people bosses and corporations, they'll start to bully the people or start to, they call it quiet quitting, but it's like quiet firing. Why did they start doing that? But she pretty much expresses it. And before we move on to what's going on in Russia here, let's get an opportunity to hear what she said live on the Breakfast Club. Let's check this out.
Well, the tweet that he responded to was actually just some biblical passages.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought that it was me saying that I had to choose money over I don't know how we interpret it, but it was definitely not. I just meant it as peace, calling for peace, because there was a video circulating of him calling me a disgrace and a faux professional or whatever it was, and I decided to choose peace. And then when I chose peace, he responded to the peace with not peace.
So why wouldn't he just fire you?
Well, as I explained on Tucker Carlson's show, Ben doesn't have the power to.
So obviously he doesn't have the power to fire, but that exactly what that was. Like we were talking about, man, that post that she put out there, it had nothing to do with him. It automatically seemed like he was coming from her from the beginning. I think this is a personal attack. And of course, there's going to be personal attacks on people like Candace Owens, because like I said, she's spreading truth, and she's spreading it in a way that's genuine and it's authentic. And people typically do not like that because it goes against the grain. It's not always what people want to hear, but I definitely believe it is what they need to hear. So it's interesting, man. Shout out to Candace Owens. Like I said, she still has her podcast. She still has her own show going on. She's going to continue to do what she's doing. Like I said, this is just pretty much a dust off the shoulder, nothing really big, major to worry about. But I definitely just wanted to talk about it because, like I said, there's always an attack on these people, type of people particularly, who I believe are spreading good messages and who are definitely attempting to open the minds and open the eyes of individuals all over the world. So let's see what happened over here in Russia, man. Terrible. Like I said, there's crazy things going on in the world. Great segue to this. And in Russia, Moscow, Russia, there was a concert, a venue that was sold out. A rock band was supposed to be performing there. And like I said, there's so many of these things happening. And when you see enough of it, it gets to a point where it's like, why aren't we paying attention to this stuff? Why aren't we, I mean, as believers, why aren't we praying enough? If you're not a believer and maybe just a politician or whatever the case may be, whatever authority you have, why aren't we focusing on this enough? Let's check out just a couple small clips from that event, and you're going to see what took place. Unfortunately, some people didn't make it, but let's check out this. Terrible. Moscow Concert Hall. At least 3 gunmen opened fire on crowd, and at least 14 people were confirmed to have not made it. That's a scary feeling. Think about it. When you're going to an event of what you thought was just going to be a performance. I talked about this in another video about these performances of these concerts and these huge venues, and these people gather together in these places to see these performances, these artists. It's very dangerous. It's definitely not safe. And that's the scary thing, because it's like, how bad and how terrible have things gotten if we are in a point where we can't even enjoy the simplistic things of life anymore? Like, even going to a movie theater is scary. Even going to a simple event at a prominent hall, and you get what would be considered a terrorist attack. We need Jesus, man. The world needs prayer. As the song says, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. What the world needs now is it's prayer. It's prayer, man. Because it'll definitely have people operating in fear, man, not wanting to go anywhere. I know me, man. I'm very choosy on where I choose to go these days, because there's just so much happening. And I feel that with all this stuff that's happening in the world, no one's talking about it. We're not focusing on it. Instead, we want to talk about how TikTok is influencing the young people too much. But whatever happened to parents just being parents and having that control and that authority over the child to say, if I do not want you to have social media, you don't have social media? What happened to parents actually guiding their children instead of depending on the world to raise them? You see what I'm saying? It's just very interesting, like I said, to see how the world is moving, the direction the world is moving in. It's getting more dangerous. It's becoming more fearful. You know, as human beings, we're fighting each other. We're killing each other. We're harming one another. It's just very interesting to see that we're moving in that direction. And those are the things that people don't want to talk about at all. So we have to be ignorant about those things, and we have to ignore the dangers of what's going on. But let's get TikTok out, and let's become all inclusive with LGBTQ and the non-binary systems, and we have to be accepting to people based off of what they identify as, which is more uncomfortable things that are going on, because there was a Planet Fitness debacle that's going on right now. A whole situation where a woman went into Planet Fitness, normal member. She walks in, man. She gets in there, goes to the restroom, and as she walks in the restroom, she finds a man shaving his face. And she asks him, what you doing in here? Well, apparently this man claims to be a woman. That is what he identifies as. He identifies as a woman. Y'all, this is not okay. Apparently there was a 12-year-old girl scared in that bathroom with a towel around her. in the corner somewhere. Because how does she react to it? This is all new age hooey, guys, and we have to get to a point where we're okay to be honest about that. This whole non-binary, I identify as this, I'm this is all new. This has not been around forever. And I'll never be convinced that it was. This is new, and this is why it can be confusing to the younger generation. So TikTok is bad for the younger generation, but the gender equality and the inclusivity that we have to have with specific gender identifications, that's not harming to them. Joe Biden talks about how Christians shouldn't be able to adopt children because Christians will start to indoctrinate the kids with their Christianity. But we can have sexual education inside of school where those same kids will go, where we're teaching them about same-sex relationships and same-sex intercourse, if you will. And that's not indoctrination. I'm telling you, it's very interesting to see the direction that the world is going in. It's scary. This is why I say we need prayer, and you need to stay prayed up, because we're moving to a very illogical, lacking common sense, moving in that direction. And prayer is going to be what's going to be the thing that's going to defend us from this. But I want to show you guys that clip. This woman, she, like I said, she went into Planet Fitness, and this is a terrible situation because she ended up being the one that got disciplined, received the consequences, if you will, for experiencing what she experienced. I don't want to say too much. Let's hear this clip from her. Let's get into this.
We're on Fairbanks, Alaska, day 2 of Planet Fitness saga. I came in Monday. There's a man in the women's locker room shaving. A little girl sitting in the corner. She could have been 12 years old. I don't know how old she was. In a towel. Kind of freaked out that there's a man shaving in her locker room. Well, I was offended. I took a picture of him and I asked him, why are you there? You're a man with a penis. Why are you in the women's locker room? And he justified by saying, I'm queer LGB, and I said, you shouldn't be in the women's locker room. Well, I left. And as I said this morning, I got canceled. Planet Fitness is defending the man in the women's locker room, the man with the penis, rather than the child sitting in the corner with a towel wrapped around her. So people, I just want you to know, this is weird. It's not good. It's rather disturbing. So I would like for you women to stand up and have a voice and stop the shenanigans. You have authority. Use your authority. I took that picture because I felt like I was in an unsafe space. And so I'm probably going to go report this to the police today, but I just want to tell Samantha and Joe that work there and own it, thank you so much for canceling my membership. You saved me the trip. Have a great day.
When do you find women who identify as transgender, maybe they identify as a man, they use, masculine pronouns, when do you find them utilizing the men's restroom? That was a very interesting comment that I saw, because to me, it was very interesting and it was honest. When do you find that? Because I never see that. But then you get men that will go into women's locker rooms, restrooms, because they say they identify as a woman. I think this is pedophilic. I think that's exactly what this is. And it needs to be stopped, man. And it's just unfortunate to know that they canceled her membership for that. They canceled her membership. Here's the mugshot of the gentleman. But they canceled her membership because she walked in and saw this gentleman here. This is the picture that's floating around the internet that she took, shaving the hair off of his face, identifying as a woman in the women's restroom in Planet Fitness. So Planet Fitness cancels her membership because they said it was rude and disrespectful because she offended him. Or offended her, if you will. It's just confusing. And it's not okay. So apparently Planet Fitness, man, they've went out a lot of money. A bunch of people who went to Planet Fitness who have memberships there and canceled their memberships. Because a lot of people believe that this is not okay. There was a 12-year-old girl sitting in there. That's scary for her. So, like I said, this is all new aged hooey. This ideology, this idea of identifications and misrepresentation of gender and all that, that's new. So imagine how scarce that could be for a little girl, for a little child. So when do we become honest with ourselves in this new time, in this new age, as the adult? I mean, look at this guy. He's a grown man. When can we all get honest with ourselves and say, look, you can identify as women, that's fine, but go use the man's restroom because you still have male parts and you need to use the male, facilities. Can you know that this could be uncomfortable for a little girl, 12, 10, 8 years old? People are saying that it's very selfish for heterosexual people to not understand the homosexual community, that we're very selfish, or Christians for that matter, very selfish. But I think that, actually Christianity teaches a lot of selflessness. So I think it's actually contrary, but in reality, I think that this community here and these acts and this stuff that's going on, I think that this is the selfish act because it's only thinking about yourself. It's all about your own liberty, your own freedom. You've come out, you're ready to just express yourself who you are. But at what cost? At the expense of what? And it's just interesting that Planet Fitness immediately, in their defense, takes up in the honor of this male here. You think I'm going to take my children, my daughters for that matter, to a public restroom? No, because of stuff like this. When does it end? When does it end? This is all sad, y'all. This is all creepy. And it's all sad. It's scary, man. It's scary to know, like I said, that these are the things that are happening in the side that we get on. Candace Owens fired from the Daily Wire because she expresses genuine emotion, genuine, authentic emotion of something that is actually sad. And because she's sad about it and expresses those emotions, she gets backlash for it, gets removed. This gentleman here, this grown man, identifies as a woman, goes into Planet Fitness, in the locker room, in the bathroom, shaving his face, scaring a little 12-year-old girl in a corner, not knowing what to do. Shocks the grown woman who walks into the women's restroom, not expecting to see a grown man. That's interesting to me. And the side we get on is the side that we shouldn't be on. The side that the world, that the majority, the companies, businesses that they get on is the side that we shouldn't be on. It's wrong. It's corrupt. There's an issue here. There's a problem here. What the world needs now is prayer. Real prayer. That's all I got, man. That's all I got on this one. But boy, do I tell you. It's like, it's hard to know when the switch took place. When did we start as a nation, as a world? When did we start rebuking truth? When did we start not wanting to adhere to logic? It's interesting, man. That's interesting. That's all I got for you guys on this one. I appreciate it if you guys stayed this long as always, man. Always, I definitely appreciate it. Staying to the end, the longer form of content. But that's all I got, man. Think about that. Don't be on the side where, man, logic just doesn't make sense and it doesn't live, man. Come to the side of truth, man. Come to the side of real knowledge. Pray. We need prayer. Russia, Israel, all these places, man, need prayer. Gotta not be so selfish. We gotta become selfless like Christ and start to really think about other people that are in other situations, that are going through other things, man. There's always someone that is worse off than us. There's always someone going through things and they may be worse off than us. But I just want to encourage us, man. Attempt to be more selfless. Open our mouths and pray, man, and pray for other people, not just for our own things, for things we want, for our own goods, but pray for other people, man. Wow. That's all I got, man. To the next one, y'all. I appreciate you for staying. I'm out.